counter lies. That was President Biden claiming his massive government spending plans have actually helped Americans, even as we see record inflation and soaring prices on everything every day. And he continues to mislead the American people about the strength of this economy. Joining me right now is Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey. He's ranking member of the Banking Committee and a member of the Budget and Finance Committees. Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Good morning,
The
Maria.
president has written op-eds. He's gone on Jimmy Kimmel telling us that we're the fastest growth in the world, which is not true. We are in a contraction. He said that it's a lie that his spending stoked inflation. What is your reaction?
Maria, it's breathtaking. I mean, he's so detached from reality and being so dishonest to the American people. But he thinks the American people are really stupid. And that's going to catch up to him. Look, we all know what happened when governments foolishly locked down our economy during the pandemic. We created a hole. The government spent way too much. And long after the crisis was over, in last year, President Biden insisted on another $2 trillion. Every Republican voted no. Democrats made that tremendous, wasteful, massive spending pass. It's done a tremendous amount of damage. And the only reason we're not doing more multi-trillion-dollar bills, even now as we speak, is because every Republican opposes President Biden, and Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema won't go along with him. I mean, for him to claim credit for a reduction in the deficit. The reduction in the deficit is despite Joe Biden, not because of Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what I want to ask about, because how does he get away with all of this false reporting, all of these falsities? And right now, isn't it true that your colleagues on the left are still pushing this spending package, Build Back Better?
Maria,
every day. So what? Chuck Schumer wants a reconciliation package.
And it's trillions. They want trillions more in spending. President Biden is the main driver of this. It's the fact that every Republican opposes it, and Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema won't go along is the only reason we haven't been hit with another massive multi-trillion-dollar spending bill. And by the way, he thinks they're helping people. This is how the detachment from reality is just breathtaking. The fact is, wages are evaporating from inflation. People can't afford the gas, the food, any of these expenses. They're going through the roof.
I mean, is any of this impeachable, Senator? I mean, look, you voted to impeach President Trump. What about influence peddling of President Biden? What about, you know, these falsities or this wide open border? Are these things impeachable?
Look, this is horrendous policy. I think the remedy for these policy mistakes and for being dishonest with the American people is you're going to get crushed in the next election. The cavalry is on the way. It's going to get here in the form of the November elections. I think Republicans are going to take back both houses of Congress, and it's in no small part to the combination of incompetence and dishonesty.
Yeah. Senator, the Banking Committee holding a hearing yesterday on your Index Act. The legislation attempts to transfer voting power to individual investors, limiting the influence of large investment managers. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Dan Sullivan, the senator from Alaska, and I have introduced the bill. Here's the idea. You know, a lot of American investors buy index funds. They're broad-based. It might be like the whole S&P 500, for instance, and all you're trying to do is replicate the return of a very, very big basket of stocks rather than picking individual stocks. But unfortunately, when an investor buys an index fund, you don't technically, literally own the stocks in it. The fund manager does, and the fund managers in recent years have been voting those shares in ways that most investors probably don't agree with. So I simply want to restore the authority to cast votes to the people who actually are the beneficial owners of those stocks. That's what our legislation would do. It's really just common sense.
Well, this is a really important idea that you're talking about, because right now you have folks like Larry Fink, who is the CEO of BlackRock, who owns trillions and trillions of dollars of exchange-traded funds, and he's voting like the environmental police. He said recently in an interview, I don't want to be the environmental police, but that's what he's doing, shifting his votes to where his policy favorites are.
Yeah, there's three big asset managers. BlackRock is one of them. Three of them combined that tremendously dominate. They're the largest shareholder in 90% of all S&P 500 companies. They have enormous influence because of the votes they cast and the threat that they could replace a board of directors if they wanted. These three individuals should not have that kind of power. That should be in the hands of the American people whose money has actually gone to buy those stocks. That's all we're trying to do.
And that speaks exactly to your legislation. So thank you for that. Let me get your take on gun legislation. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell endorsing the gun control framework agreed on by you and a group of bipartisan senators. Where are we on that, Senator?
Working on the details. You know, there's been an agreement on the some of the broad issues, like encouraging states to have crisis intervention laws, like having a little more scrutiny when someone 18 to 21-year-old buys a firearm if there's a question about their mental health history or their criminal history. There's more resources for mental health, since that's obviously such a huge driver, the big driver of these terrible massacres. So these are some of the things. The details have to be fleshed out. That's a work in progress.
Senator, we are waiting on retail sales numbers for the month of May, and one metric that we're looking at is the health of the consumer. But the consumer has been cutting into savings. The savings rate is down in order to pay for the essentials, never mind anything extra. Your thoughts on how healthy the consumer is right now, and do you believe we will see a recession this year?
So I think the consumer was very healthy, but this inflation is eroding the savings of consumers. As you point out, it's cutting into their purchasing power. It's going to result in, buying less goods and services because it costs you as much as it used to cost to buy more. So this inflation is doing tremendous damage. I do think the risk of a recession has gone up very significantly, including later this year, because of this mismanagement. So I hope it'll be shallow and quick, and I know the Fed is on a tightening cycle. I hope they give us the 75 basis point increase today that the market expects. I think we need to do that to begin to catch up. The Fed's been behind the curve. And most of all, we need Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema to continue to hold back the floodgates of another multi-trillion-dollar bill.
Are they doing that, Senator, or do you think they are bending and they are changing their thoughts on this? Do you see them still holding firm as Chuck Schumer tries to get them on a reconciliation package with $1 trillion in higher taxes?
At least $1 trillion in higher taxes, probably multi-trillion dollars in spending, certainly if Chuck Schumer had his way. Look, they've been holding firm so far. I don't know how long or whether they can hold out indefinitely. The cavalry doesn't really arrive until January, when the Republican Congress will be sworn in. So we need them to stay strong.
Senator, it's great to get your insights on all of this. We so appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me, Maria.